Welcome, everybody, to Therapist Take. We're going to talk about the transitions of life, so don't go anywhere. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Josh.
We're laughing because we just did this.
Take two.
Yeah. We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah,
How do you recreate the magic?
You can't.
I know.
We'll just have to keep it going.
Yeah. So we are, welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about the transitioning back into the podcast. But we do have some one thing we talked about a little earlier was how new this, like, it feels like we're just starting over again, and like just how to get the equipment set up, or even how to start off the episode.
Yeah.
Like, seems kind of like
What?
you
Lost
ever,
the skill, right?
with your son playing baseball, as the coach ever said something like, it's like you guys have never played this game before.
Yeah, they're
It's like,
rusty.
yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Mhm.
Like, taking a 2-month break. And
Yeah,
so,
I know.
but I'm glad to be back. And we have Xander with us. And those of you that have remember us talking about, or we'll mention Hannah from time to time, that we refer to her as our producer. So she's behind the scenes working all the things on screen to make sure our podcast looks nice, and so she has moved on to bigger and better things as she pursues her graduate degree. And now we have Xander Holland with us, who's a licensed marital and family therapist. And when he approached me about doing this, I was like, perfect, because we've tried so hard to get Hannah to get in front of the camera with us, and it just wasn't her jam. So maybe it will be your jam, Xander.
Yeah.
So welcome to,
Well, thank you.
as our new producer.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And we already ran into our first take.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah, growing pains. Right?
That's right.
Do you want to tell people what you did?
Oh, sure. We'll start with that. Good introduction.
Good introduction.
One thing I do want to say, though, is that we are going to try a new segment with answering questions live on air. And so if you have questions that you want to submit, you can do it through the comment section on the YouTube video. And we also have a form, like a Google form, that we'll put in the description.
Yes.
That you can click on and submit your questions, and then we'll get to hear from Josh and Carrie and their great wisdom, right? Answer some good questions. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I'm like, there's a segment that Xander and I talked about doing that I'm excited about doing. So now it's just convincing Carrie to do it, where he will take the topic at hand and present to us kind of a scenario that we will not have. We will not be privy to this. Ooh. And then basically kind of how would we handle this particular type of scenario. Okay. So
it's like it's like an oral exam.
Yeah. And it also kind of, highlight, our thought processes, as well as how you and I are similar and different, and how we practice therapy. And then, of course, Xander's also a practicing therapist here with us, and who has, we do a lot of betrayal trauma type episodes, because that's primarily what we specialize in.
Right.
And he also has taken a special interest in that, and won't be long before you're carrying the certification and you're legit.
Yes.
Legit.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we're glad to have you, man.
Glad to be here.
Excited to kind of see how it changes the dynamic and the feel of the show. So appreciate it. Well, let's dive into the housekeeping things real quickly. Just want to remind everybody, if you're watching this on YouTube, please just take a moment to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, if you don't mind, just head on over there. There's a lot of other cool things besides our podcast on there, and we plan on adding some more cool things in the future. So make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be notified when we post new things. This episode will be edited, and we'll cut it, edit it, and make it crispier, as we said earlier, and we'll put it back on YouTube, and we'll put it on the podcast platforms. And so if you're listening to this on the podcast platform, give us a 5-star review if you don't mind. Write us a nice note, but also make sure you check out the show notes, because we will try to put lots of different resources in there, like links, like the one that Xander mentioned to actually submit questions. But we'll have like websites and books and things that we kind of address and mention on this podcast. So don't forget to do that. Okay. So we decided to do this episode, Carrie, because the last episode we did was about us taking a break.
Yep.
And so we were like, let's do an episode on the importance of taking breaks. It just makes sense. And so now that we're moving back and transitioning back into the podcast, it's like, how about if we just do one on managing and navigating life's transitions, you know? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So the different topics we're going to cover is, to start out with, we're going to talk about the uncertainty of disruption, because we know transitions can cause disruption.
Yes.
Whether you choose it, like we chose to do this, versus something just happening to you.
Right.
Grief, we'll move in from there and go and talk about that there's grief and there's growth in grief. Then we're going to talk about the opportunity in reorganizing. And the last thing we'll do is talk about the gratitude of new beginnings.
Yeah.
And then we'll answer Xander's question that we have no clue what he's going to ask.
Yeah.
So,
Very exciting.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
We experienced our second disruption.
Our second storm.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So as you said earlier, I keep saying earlier because how far did we made it right about here?
About here, yeah.
Before,
Right here. And then it was
broadcasted.
whoopsies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's all right.
it's okay.
Blame Xander.
Okay.
I can take responsibility.
We're gonna pick on you, Xander.
Yeah. Josh will mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you pick on me.
I know. I know.
That's how bullying works.
It's how being the oldest
You
sibling
bully me
works.
and I
I
bully you
know.
Oh
boy.
So, yeah. I mean, you mentioned the title was "The Storm Before the Calm."
Yeah.
Because whether you're doing something on purpose, like we're doing, or life throws a curveball your way, it usually disrupts things in the beginning, right?
Yes.
And so, the reason why I put the first heading is the uncertainty of disruption is because I think that's kind of what's unsettling about the disruption. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. Because when if you could game out everything that's going to happen, even in a difficult moment, it decreases the anxiety and helps like channel your brain, right? It gets focused. Like I got to do this, and then I do that, and then I do that, right? It gives you a way to channel that energy into moving through it. Mm-hmm. Part of the way that anxiety stays spinning and the uncertainty is you don't know what to do. You don't know where to place it.
Right.
Right. And so you're like, well, I don't know exactly how it's going to go.
Right.
And so that can paralyze people, right? Sometimes even that uncertainty can, kind of elicit that fight, flight, freeze response for some people, even if it's on a low level or a real, brief moment. But uncertain, human beings just don't do really well with uncertainty.
I know.
Right?
But don't you feel like it's a double-edged sword in a lot of ways? Like, what would life be like without it?
Well, sure. That's why
boring.
it's kind of like you mentioned the last episode we did about taking breaks, right? About changing routine, right? I mean, that's the value of vacations or, is to have things not always be the same because, probably if you've lived for a little bit, you're like, oh, I'm tired of the same old.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, change is something we crave, but how much, right? I mean, it's the kind of the Goldilocks.
How abrupt.
Yes, and how abrupt. And definitely chosen change versus life just throwing it at you.
Yeah, but even that's hard too, right? I mean, how hard is it for us to, there's something you want to do and you just, the fear of doing it, like doing a podcast, or something that's like, I just, well, I want it to look this way and it's not going to look this way starting out, but I don't want to go through I fear the learning curve.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so there's an expression that I often will share with my clients that I took from some kind of leadership training or something where they say that you only have to be brave 5 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
And so many people will let, including us on certain things, will let 5 measly seconds keep us from doing a lot of things. And then how many times have you had that moment where you you finally do something that you've been wanting to do, and you're like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we say that. We end up saying that about most things, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, this wasn't that bad, right? But
Right.
you'll know that in the
Right.
moment,
It's
like,
kind of that literature on people at the end of their life looking back, right? And you
yeah,
ask about regret, and they talk about mostly regretting what they didn't do, not so much
right,
what they did, right? And so that kind of that information, as well as thinking about it through the lifespan development,
right.
right, can like put another perspective on the uncertainty,
Hmm.
right, of change and disruption.
Yeah, 100%. But I do think like, like if it, I think like people describe like moments of peace where you might think the calm before the storm for people that have
Uh-huh.
lots of disruptions in their life. A lot of times when they experience calm and peace, it's unsettling, right?
Yes, right,
Because they're not as familiar with it.
right.
But I think for anybody that is aiming to have more peace in their life, have more calm in their life, eventually that calm becomes the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
status quo is good for a little bit, until our brains need a disruption.
Mm-hmm.
We need novelty, we need adventure, we need some level
Mm-hmm.
of uncertainty
Right.
in our life.
Challenge.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to us, and that also helps us grow.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I think kind of the next point about grief and growth,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Like,
so.
it's kind of that old. I guess it's you hear it in sports, but you hear it in mental health, right? You don't know what you can do until you have to, kind of thing, right? The idea that
Right.
the
Yeah.
pressure's on, and that's really only when certain things are developed, right?
Hmm.
And we definitely see that in our offices, right? That
Right.
most of the time people are coming to see us because life is hard and overwhelming. And they don't know we would describe them in our mental status exam, right, as their support is overwhelmed, right? Not incapable, just overwhelmed.
Right.
And that's the time when you have to grow, right? That's the time when, like, skill wise, mental wise, spiritually wise, that's the
Right.
opportunity for that growth. But
Hmm.
a lot of times, especially when it's trauma, um, the growth is wrapped in grief,
Hmm.
right? And people can sometimes be hard on themselves and say, "I should be rising to this occasion. I should
Hmm.
know how to do that." And kind of giving people the perspective of, well, maybe it's kind of wrapped in grief, and you need to just feel
Hmm.
really sad or overwhelmed, or
Yeah.
stomp your feet and throw a fit for a minute, and then you can proceed,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I think grief and growth. I don't know if they exist exclusively from each other.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, today's in Oklahoma City, or at least Edmond. It's the second day of school, right? And so
Mhm.
I love seeing. One of my favorite things to do is look through all my friends'
I know.
Facebook
It's one of my
feeds and
favorites.
see all their kids, how
Back to
older they're
school.
getting.
Hmm.
I love doing that, except for my kids. Like when I see their pictures that we took
Hmm.
on the first day of school, there's like, it's
Hmm.
sadder to me.
Yeah.
Like there's grief in there because
Hmm.
they're growing.
Yes, right. Right.
Watching them grow and taking on new opportunities, and knowing someday that they're going to leave home.
Hmm.
And I have a senior this year, so
I
he's going to
know. I
graduate. And I
know.
know when he's walking across that stage, getting his diploma, I'm going to be thinking about the first time I held him.
Yeah.
And I think the movie Inside Out really illustrates
Oh, yeah.
how this works with sadness.
Uh-huh.
Like that, as sadness touches all these happy memories, they turn sad, or at least there's a tinge of
Uh-huh.
sadness with them. Doesn't mean the happiness is gone. It's just the memory changes because there's loss with every opportunity,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
growth opportunity.
Hmm.
And I do think you're right. Like we can really sometimes get hung up in the grief in such a way that we miss the growth
Yeah.
opportunities there.
Right.
So
Right. Or that sometimes as a therapist, I think our job is just to normalize the interconnectedness of the two of
right.
those things, right?
Maybe that's why people try. I mean, in this, when I say people, this is including us. We are people.
We are.
We are humans.
Right.
But maybe that's why the status quo is something we try to maintain if
Sure.
we're way too long at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we maybe we don't want, we intuitively know there's grief in change. There's uncertainty in change. There's grief. There's loss with every new thing that
Yes.
changes in your life. You know?
Yes, I'm sure.
I mean, so
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it like that, but yeah. Do you know? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that change is difficult for a lot of reasons, but I also think it's painful sometimes, right? Like it makes me think of fire, right? And how like fire changes things. Like if you put salt in water, it becomes a new, I think the term is solution. I forget from 10th grade chemistry
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
But if you burn off the water, if you boil the water, the salt remains. But if you
Yes.
take something and you burn it, it turns to ash. Like it's completely new, thing. And the fire, of course, is a painful experience, I think. But if you take limestone and you burn it, you get this little like lime dust. I think that if
Yes.
you mix with water, it becomes concrete, which is like
Right.
what the Romans used to build their roads that still, I think, are in use today, a lot of them, right? Like very effective process. But it's like the burning off of pieces that don't fit anymore. And I think like even if we're not totally aware of that, there's something that subconsciously maybe we're
Yeah.
afraid of going through that sharpening process.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Maybe it is intuitive, and maybe it's examples all around us from the get-go too, right? Seeing that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something else, which is pregnancy. I've not been pregnant. I don't plan to be pregnant ever. My wife was pregnant, and the change process through pregnancy was really hard, and
Yeah.
the impact on the body, right? And also like the change of values. Like I think I might say women are especially good at taking care of other people. And for those 9 months plus, you really have to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
And
That's
so
a good,
like
yeah.
there's so much that
Because you're kind
changes
of taking care of another person.
Yeah,
in a way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing that. I mean, in a
Yeah.
very, we try to get people to do that anyways, but that's a really good example of where, where you're literally taking care of another person by taking care of yourself. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. My supervisor would say, Julie Rising, she's wonderful. She would say, self-care is other care.
Yes.
It's a synonym. Like when you take care
Right.
of yourselves, you take care of other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the opportunity in reorganizing.
Okay.
I love
I
reorganizing.
love reorganizing. Oh, it is so satisfying. As I've gotten older and I know myself better too,
Yeah.
I have these ways of when I'm feeling out of control about things that I can't control. Man,
Yeah.
cleaning out the closet,
Well,
right? Cleaning out the junk drawer. It's just,
let me say it this way. I love reorganizing, but I hate having to reorganize.
yes.
Because it's like, oh, I want to reorganize these cabinets.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I can't believe who made this mess.
I know.
You know what I mean?
How do we get this many water bottles?
Yeah.
I know.
It's like, or tumblers. Have you?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
What? And I'm
know.
just as guilty as it, man. I love a good tumbler.
Well, I don't buy them, but I think they're just making babies in my cabinet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I felt about sippy. These are grown-up
Right.
sippy cups.
I know they're.
That's how I felt about sippy cups. Told my wife, I said, when our kids are done with sippy cups, I'm not giving them away, donating. I'm burning them.
Yes, I
I'm
know.
going to use Xander's fire, and I'm burning
Yeah,
these cups.
yes.
I didn't,
I know.
but I wanted. I was angry
to.
about
I know.
these cups
I know.
reproducing in my cabinet, and they don't stand up. They fall over.
They do fall over.
And these tumblers. There's no lid that fits.
No, never. You have 3 lids you have thousands of cups, but 3
Why are
lids.
they doing this to us?
I don't know, to keep us crazy. But
I
the
know.
reorganizing is,
Yeah.
it feels good when you do it, but knowing you have to do it doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
Stumbling upon having to do it
Yeah.
also doesn't necessarily feel good, which is kind of the difference here of transitions that you choose versus transitions that are
Right.
forced upon you, right?
Do you ever have that moment though when you're reorganizing and you're like, this is gonna last like a week? Like
In
it's kind of like,
in
why
my
am I
shared
doing
space,
this?
I know that. Yes. In my closet, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, this will stay.
You think of the closet, I think of cabinets,
Mhm.
where dishes and the Tupperware, the lids are the
Lid.
bane of my
I
existence.
try to do that too.
I can't find my wife. Like, why are all these dishes on the counter? I'm like, the kids can put them up because they're the one who did all that, and I had to look for a lid.
And it just sits there for days, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it would.
Unless you put it up. Or
Yeah,
Amanda
or
puts
I'm
it
like,
up.
make
I
kids
know
do
how
it.
that works,
Yeah.
Josh. Yeah.
But there is kind of like a part of me that's a little like upset about like that what is the systems term, like everything's gravitating toward entropy,
Yes.
everything's
Yeah.
gravitating toward chaos.
Chaos. Yeah.
And there's nothing, I think, more speaks that more than being like a homeowner, and everybody, like, my wife takes the kids to go see family for like a week, and it's just me, and I'm working, I'm not there, and I'm like, how'd this house get dirty?
Uh-huh.
It's just me here.
Because there's this pull towards chaos.
I know. I was like, maybe it's not the kid's fault, but I'm not going to let them know that.
No. Never say that out loud. Never say that out loud.
So
But reorganizing feels good, but
yeah.
it's, what do you see it when you're working with clients that are, their transitions are not chosen? Like,
Right.
how do they perceive that step of organization?
Well, I think that I'm glad the way you said it, like it's a step, and it's not the first one.
Right.
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 I would say probably grief, acknowledgement. If you follow like Kubler-Ross's
Right.
5 stages of grief, you got to get through the denial that it happened, and so
Shock.
you have to acknowledge it, and work through the sadness of it. But then it's, I mean, there's resistance, I think, because loss is hard, and it's all based on what you're going through, right? But to kind of give an extreme example, like, we work with a lot of clients who have experienced betrayal trauma in their marriage. The person who was cheated on, one thing I've often described that experience is probably one of the most overwhelming relational experiences that can happen.
Yes.
Because in a moment's time, with just a piece of information, your world went from at least safe in in understanding how it worked at minimum, but for a lot of people, they were happy in it.
Yeah.
To being just completely unsafe and disrupted, and they know they have to reorganize. Like, it's the only way forward is, but there's like that's venturing into that world of uncertainty,
Right.
and that's daunting.
Yes.
And then at the same time, they're grieving the loss of something that they had come to know and trust, and like I said, at minimum, they just, it's even if it's not the best of circumstances, it's still like the devil, type thing.
Right, for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
It is hard. I think that it's part of, though, a job of a therapist to help people with that step of organization, right? And processing the emotions and the perspective even around that, right? Because I think I see people feeling a little bit like they got their feet underneath them when they start taking some of those reorganization steps.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And that's what I think that's when you start to see kind of new life, kind of like, kind of how you describe it, like, I love reorganizing. A little harder to feel that way on the other side of a tragedy.
Right.
A little easier when it's your closet or your cabinets,
100%.
right?
Right.
But you can kind of see the light come back in their eyes when they realize there's a way, and that it's not going to be like this forever, and they start feeling empowered and things, and will forever be different, but it can be different good,
right, which is kind of
be different bad,
which is kind of the last point today of gratitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And gratitude is something that I think, when it comes to being a therapist or even an empathetic person, gratitude is something you have to kind of be careful with. And what I mean is that, especially when it comes to trauma, nobody likes hearing, well, everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm sure you'll be stronger because of this. Those things you may believe in those things.
Right.
But gratitude isn't something that I think we're expected to have in the first beginnings of transition, especially traumatic transitions, right?
Yeah.
That gratitude is something that through this process is available to you, right? But it continues, I think, to be more available as you move through it, as you feel stable, as you get organized, right?
Which is why it's last on our list.
That's right.
Too.
That's right.
But I also want to make a clarification too. Like, I don't think, like, at least when it comes to some of the more severe, extreme things, I don't think people are ever grateful that the thing happened. That happened.
Right. Sure.
We're talking about the gratitude that comes in creating a new beginning for yourself,
Right. Right.
because there's this thing that happened that anybody in this world who's experienced a tragedy, if they could wave a magic wand, would probably go back and undo that tragedy,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Um, but those things happen, and then if you're following, the steps, you're
Working the
working the
process.
process of it. Eventually you're going to find yourself in a position to recreate something,
That's right.
and I don't even know if recreate's the right word.
Well, maybe
Like,
not.
maybe it's just create.
Maybe.
Like it's something new.
Yes. Yes.
And once you get your bearings with it and you kind of get the lay of the land with it, I think that's when people will start feeling
I
like,
think so too.
I'm grateful for this new life I've built for
Right.
me.
I'm grateful for the
Yeah.
peace I've found. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for, um, how I feel about me and how I present myself in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Did you have any final thoughts on that, Xander? I saw you nodding your head over there.
Well, you guys are just saying some really good stuff, I really like it a lot. I think something I really like is like Richard Rohr talks about transcending and including. Like when you grow, there can be a death, and maybe I said that earlier, just like a death of what used to be, and then a recreation or creation of what's new. I think it's a really powerful thing. I think I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about this, like the difference between acceptance and resignation, or sorry, acceptance and resignation. So I think a lot of times when we deal with these difficult transitions, we feel resigned to the way that things kind
Yeah.
of take over. And I wonder if there's something to be said about taking power in the change and being able to say, like, I'm not resigned to this. I'm accepting
Right.
what
Right.
is. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that.
Well, I think in mindfulness and meditative practices, like the goal is acceptance, right? Not resignation, because resignation has a sense of I think it can sound like frozen surrender, right? But I think acceptance is a letting go, right? And the empowerment kind of in those practices is when you accept things as is, that's where the peace is, right? And so I think they can be connected, and maybe there's a little bit of resignation on the way to
Sure.
acceptance,
Yeah.
right? Accepting that I'm powerless over my kids in a lot of ways, right? Helps me actually move to acceptance of, well, that's how they are, that's who they are, right?
Right.
And it leads me to a place of feeling peace rather than, I don't know. I guess when I think of when I hear the word resignation, the imagery that comes up to me is someone that's just sinking in a puddle of mud, right? And acceptance to me feels light and moving, not fast moving, but available to be moving or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Like there's freedom to move.
Yeah.
Like
Or
versus
be.
stuck in, right.
Yeah.
So like one thing Xander, I tell my clients a lot is when they ask me like what are you looking for? Like what, as the therapist, and they're asking, or how are we doing,
Yeah.
I when you talk about resignation, did I say it right? Resignation? Right. I think of what I look for when people are ready to make these type of changes and they're ready to start this rebuilding process is resolve. And what I talk about is like resolve is it lies just on the other side of defeat. And it's there's a peace in it, but there's a sadness in it. So there is a peace, and so, but it's not the kind of peace that you want to be in forever because it's kind of it's a defeated peace.
Yeah.
It's like saying we lost. We don't get to play the game anymore. Like it's over. And and I get to be sad about that, but I'm accepting that I'm now ready for what comes next. Just whatever comes next, and I don't know what comes next, but I'm ready to take on that challenge. I'm accepting that loss, and so when couples do that, for example, like they don't fight, they're not interested in fighting. You'll just see them being like, I don't want to fight. I'm ready, whatever comes next. Because a lot of times when I talk to couples about this, they think I'm like pushing them toward divorce.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not.
Right.
I don't want you to be done with your partner. I want you to just be done doing it this way.
Doing it that way.
It seems so painful and unproductive. And then there are tons of other variations of what that looks like, right? So,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Serenity Prayer. I think we take from
Yeah.
AA, right? Like
yeah,
the accepting what you can't change,
Yeah,
taking
for sure.
control over things that you
right.
can.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it was I'm gonna get this wrong. It was like Mary von Franz, I think, who said that depression is a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's quite a take. Like whoever
Yeah.
said that has never been depressed before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's something to be said about when
Yeah.
when the world fails you or your values fail you or whatever
Mhm.
you're doing isn't working anymore.
Mhm.
And you're stuck in this spot of like maybe hopelessness sometimes. Like what is next? What do I do next? Right.
Right.
It can give you a fertile ground to
Mhm.
plant new ideas and new values
Yes.
and new
Right.
focuses and like you said earlier, creating something new. So,
Yeah.
but it can be quite a difficult process to go through.
Yeah.
Oh,
No
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Well, we did it.
We did. We moved
solved
through
we
it
solved
somehow.
We never revisit Xander a topic twice because we solve that
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
and we move on.
One and done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But we do have. You said you have a question for us.
Okay.
Let me just get it here. This is a question, like I said, online. You can submit your questions. Here we have one. It goes, I'm just getting over being broken up with by my now ex-boyfriend of over 2 years. I'm a 20-year-old woman, and this is not the first person who has broken up with me. I'm starting to think I am the problem. Should I wait until I'm fully healed, or is the best way to get over someone to get with someone else? And that's from Single Oklahoma City.
When did that come in? Just now?
No, that's from past comments.
Oh.
Hmm.
So it's a great question.
Yep.
The thing I would say is that no one person is the problem. Like it's like when people say like, "Is my picker broken?"
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
You hear that a lot. Yeah.
it's like, no, it's not. Like
Mhm.
it's the relationship's the problem, not the one
One,
person in
right.
it.
Punctuating it in one spot.
Right.
Right.
So like when people find themselves like in one type of relationship after another, they are recreating the same dynamic. And so that would be a question like that you'd probably want to work
Mhm.
through with your therapist of like,
Right.
how come when I'm in this relationship and I'm part of recreating a dynamic
Right.
with this person and the same type of dynamic.
Right. Right.
And so
Well, and I think too that it's that exploring your part in it, exploring, these patterns of dynamics. But I think there's even kind of a third level, which is hard to see, especially when you are, launching your life like this person, is that there's a filtering process in a lot of relationships, right? And some are supposed to filter out. And it's not necessarily when you get broken up with, it feels like I failed, I'm not wanted, right?
sure, yeah.
And it's important to also be able to be like, well, maybe this was supposed to filter out. And I'm not meaning supposed to in some metaphysical way, but some idea of, boy, maybe that dynamic was shifting. And that's kind of how it ends, right? Um, and so I think but that's a hard perspective to take when you're hurting.
Yeah.
And so if the question of how do I move on, do I just move on to somebody else? I would say that, I would ask you to maybe instead think about how you're hurting, right?
Right.
And identifying your part of the dynamics. And as you do that, you're probably going to approach anybody else with this new knowledge and perhaps even a new,
Yeah.
engagement pattern.
Yeah.
And in general, we don't really think that adding more fuel to the fire makes the fire go out,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think you have to be rigid around, well, then you take what was happening a year ago with young people? They were swearing off dating
Yeah.
and no sex and all those I can't remember. There was some,
There was I don't know if you remember the Joshua Harris movement back in the early 2000s when I Kissed Dating Goodbye, which was
yes,
the move toward like courtship
courtship, right.
relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even G has come out and said that was wrong. He wish he hadn't wrote that book or something. That's
Well,
at least that's the rumor.
but there was, I can't remember, something about women that
Yeah.
was just like, done with that or something. I know a lot of women, I was reading about some things in South Korea where
Yeah,
the
the
marriage
four-
rates, yes.
The 4B movement, I
Yes,
think,
that's
which
right. That's
I don't know what the B
yeah, I
stands
don't
for.
either, but and it, I think it's an attempt to kind of examine some of these dynamics and look things from a larger perspective. I think that's really helpful. I don't know that making extreme things about I never will date or I must date now, as therapists, we kind of tend to not encourage people to hang out in the extremes, right?
Right.
But again, I think that there's value in kind of heading over to one part of the extreme for a minute and looking at that, and then swinging to the other and looking at that, and then kind of finding a more maybe balanced or resting space there. But I know that that poor person can feel rejected in that way. No one wants to feel rejected. We all feel.
That hurts.
Children don't feel good about that, right? When I wasn't picked top for dodgeball in elementary school, that was awful, right? And so it's just part of being human. We don't like that, but those feelings aren't necessarily facts either, right? So
Yeah. So just a quick disclaimer to like when we address these questions, this is not therapy. We're not doing therapy on the podcast.
yeah,
But it's just kind of processing through these thoughts and particular situations that people may have, and that's a common one. And one of the questions that this person posed was like, is do I solve the problem by getting into another relationship? And there's a great book that I've recommended many times on here called The Untethered Soul. And it's he actually addresses the problem of loneliness, and I love his take on it, where he says, people who battle loneliness are like, well, I feel lonely, so it's logical to like go, I need to go find someone and solve this problem of loneliness. And he said, like, the problem with that is that he said that those relationships will inevitably have, which most relationships do anyways, have problems. But he's talking about like it's going to have a problem around this particular thing because the problem itself caused the relationship, and so like his challenges is like loneliness is an internal problem, like, you're okay, and then all of a sudden you're lonely. Like, what happened? Like you figure out to solve that problem, and then you'll never be lonely, basically. And then your relationship isn't about solving a problem of loneliness. It's about just something you want in life and to have. And so
that's a good punctuation of that.
Yeah.
Well,
The untethered
I
soul.
hope anything we said was helpful to
Do you want to weigh in on that one too? Or?
I think you guys covered it. It's good stuff.
Well, we need to wrap up, but I want to let everybody know that we have finally, after over a year in the making, started to release episodes from Carl's podcast, which is called Poetry in Layers. And Carl is one of also a therapist here at Family Solutions, and he's a published author. He's a public speaker. He's a spoken word artist. And I could listen to him talk all day because he's just like, it's almost like he talks in a rhythm, and when you listen to his podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. But these are really great episodes. They're only like 10 to 12 minutes long. So it'd be a great one to wake up in the morning to and just kind of get a little dose of, poetic wisdom. I'm real excited about getting to release these. So check that out. It's called Poetry in Layers. And we're releasing episodes weekly right now. So, and for season 1, there should be about 10 episodes. So
yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, thank you, Carrie, for showing up super early this morning.
Thank you for all of you for showing up. We all showed up super early. Yeah.
Xander, such a pleasure to have you join
Xander.
our
It's
podcast.
wonderful.
And I think I'm looking forward to some of the nuances that might come with you being here. So,
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, everybody who's listened to this, we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and check out the show notes. And we'll see you next time.